Welcome to the Be Strong Show. I am your host, Michelle Shirley, CEO and Chief Heart Officer for Be Strong International. I'm so glad that you joined us today. If you are in the nonprofit space, if you are a nonprofit leader, you need to make sure that you listen to this entire show. There's going to be so much incredible information shared today about how one incredible leader in Miami is changing the space for good. And so today I am excited, I'm thrilled, I'm honored to introduce our guest. She is the Executive Director of Philanthropy Miami. Her name is Fernanda, I don't want to mess up the last name, Jorgensen. Fernanda Jorgensen with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This has been like a year in the making. So I'm so excited to be here with you today, Michelle.
I'm excited too. And we've been postponing. And I'm like, Fernanda, I love you. I need you.
But you know, the time is always right when it is. So today is the right day.
Yes. So great. So great. And speaking of that, so we were offline just now talking about when we met, and it is almost a year ago today. And I remember you reaching out to me and just wanting to pick my brain, and we were sharing. And
you were so graceful and just so giving of your time and so encouraging. You know, I think I had only been in the job for like a week or two. And I was feeling a little overwhelmed, but we met for coffee and you were just so encouraging. So thank you so much for that.
I was just excited for you. I want you to share a little bit about your journey, because congratulations. Now you are like a year into your role, right? You are solidified now, right? But you're the first executive director of Philanthropy Miami. That's huge, Fernanda.
It is huge because, you know, Philanthropy Miami has really been around in the community for over 27 years. But it's been, you know, this is the first time that we have this opportunity to grow on this incredible foundation that we've built over those years. And so, you know, a year into the job, I'm feeling a little more grounded. Of the work that we have ahead of us, and just really excited and really proud of everything we've accomplished this far.
Yeah, and I'm honored to be on the board as well.
Yes.
I just got inducted, right? And so it's just incredible to see. And my heart has always been in this space for so many years, but just to be in the trenches with you is just an honor for me. So I'm excited. So tell the audience about how this even happened. Like what transpired for you to be part of Philanthropy Miami?
So, you know, I had been working on the opposite side actually as a funder for many, many years. I worked at a local regional health foundation here, the Health Foundation of South Florida. And I had been there for 8 years and I had grown so much there professionally and personally. And I was doing really great. But then I did Leadership Miami. So shout out to Leadership Miami.
I know, right? We just had a show with them.
It was such a great program. And I think what it made me realize was that I was ready to take the next step in my professional career and to take that leap of faith and apply for a job like a founding executive director role of Philanthropy Miami. And it really gave me that that courage, I think, to do it and not stand in my own way and not feel that imposter syndrome that sometimes we get. And then also just being able and ready to change and to grow, which sometimes is not always comfortable.
Right.
And so I applied not thinking anything of it. And as the interview process went along, I mean, I was very honest, sometimes maybe a little too honest.
What do you mean, like, for example?
Well, they asked me, you know, we need a strong fundraiser. And I said, I've never fundraised in my life.
And that was really honest.
It was really honest. And I remember at the end of that interview thinking, they're never going to call me back.
Right, because in the nonprofit space, like that's number one. Like you have to be able to know how to network, fundraise, get the dollars in, right?
You have to know. And I think, you know, what I said to them is, even though I've never directly fundraised, I've worked as a funder. And ultimately, fundraising is all about relationships. It really is. People don't give to objects or to organizations. They give to people. They get to know your organization. They get to know why you're so passionate about the work. And then they become passionate about it too. So I think that is a really important message that, you know, fundraising is difficult and I'm learning a lot, but I think that I was able to apply the same principles that I learned working on the flip side to the role.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Well, you know, the beautiful part too about that is that you didn't oversell yourself. You were just who you genuinely were. And I think that's why the board at that time, I'm sure, just thought like, what a great person who can come in, really, they're already passionate about the work. They've been on the other side to understand what nonprofits need.
Exactly.
It makes sense for you to be that perfect candidate. So.
And I just focused on what I could bring to the table. So yes, I was very honest with, the skills that I didn't necessarily have. But I think what's really beautiful about the board is they realize that, there are things that you can learn on the job. And there are things that, you can pick up and learn along the way. And I think it's a wonderful thing when an employer can see that in a candidate and see,
Absolutely.
We will utilize your strengths and the areas that you may not have a lot of experience in, you'll learn in this role.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. So tell me a little bit, to go back, about what happened within Leadership Miami that was that turning point that made you actually realize, like, I think I can do this. Like, what was it? Was it a class? Was it a speaker?
I think it was a combination of being put into a position where, we're working with a nonprofit on a project, and we have a very short amount of time to fundraise for that project, 100 days. And so I think that experience showed me that, what a nonprofit goes through to be able to implement a certain project or initiative. So that was one. And I think the other was just being put into a leadership position. I was elected a lead, co-chair. I did not want to be in that role.
You were one of the ones that
I was
like,
voluntold, and I said, okay. So it really pushed me to see, what does leadership mean to me, and how do I show up, and what is my leadership style?
Wow.
It was those moments, that I was really able to reflect on, what I bring to the table, and then learn along the way.
Wow. Yeah. So I hear too that part of Leadership Miami, and we're going to switch gears in a minute, but you all seem to have this bond that stays beyond the project, right?
Yeah. Like I mentioned, relationships are everything. So that was really actually the third component that I would add is the network that you build and expand upon by meeting new people from across different sectors, across different industries. And, they've been such a support group, since then, to really be able to turn to them and say, hey, this is what I have going on. And it's a community. It really is a community of alumni and presenters. And I mean, you can go anywhere in Miami and find somebody who's a graduate of the program. So
right, and everybody knows their cohort, their class. They're proud about it. The bragging rights around who won.
LM 44.
Right. Every time I speak to someone, they're like, LM this, LM that. I'm like, wow, this is a thing. It's become a thing that people can be very proud of.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. So tell us then a little bit about those first, I guess, 90 days, 120 days into your role. Share a little bit about what happened there and how you were able to make whatever changes or just absorb what was really going on within the organization.
Yeah. So I started in July, which was a good time because it's the beginning of our fiscal year.
Okay.
So I had a chance to I think it was really important in those first few weeks to really understand the history of Philanthropy Miami. So we were not always Philanthropy Miami. We started off as Leave a Legacy, which was a program that really focused on planned giving. So what does leaving a legacy mean? How can you make an impact in your community by giving to nonprofit organizations and leaving behind your legacy? And then they would also help the nonprofits be able to establish planned giving programs, which is a very specific type of fundraising. And for over a decade, it was really that. It was just a program. I lived under the Planned Giving Council, and it never really had aspirations to grow beyond that. We did have a very popular event every year called Donor Next Door, which is still around today.
Yes, still around.
And so the community loves this event because it's really an opportunity to showcase the impact of donors in our community that, is really the donor next door. It's not what people think, that it's just the ultra wealthy giving, of their time or their talent or their treasure. Right. And so after a while, though, we started to realize that nonprofits needed additional support, additional capacity building needs. And there were things that happened in the community during that time. There were different centers or education programs that kind of went away, and it really left a gap. And so our board saw the time was right to kind of step into more of that role of being a capacity builder.
Right.
And so we actually had a conference at the time that was called Philanthropy Miami. And that conference was really geared towards fundraising professionals, either new to the field or executive directors that were new to fundraising, like me. And so Philanthropy Miami kind of took off. And then in a couple of years, we decided to rebrand the organization because we were no longer just leave a legacy. We were talking about all sorts of things related to fundraising and marketing and programs and how to be a successful nonprofit, how to be a board member.
Right.
So over the years, with our expanded focus, we rebranded. And then in 2019 or 2020, I believe, we became a nonprofit. And so one of our funders, pushed us.
In 2020?
2020. Yeah, 2019, I think we submitted the paperwork. And in 2020, we officially became our own nonprofit.
But you were a name for quite a while already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had, I think our two things. One, the day-to-day programs were being led by the Chase Marketing Group, Abby Chase, who's now on our board. Yay. She was really one of our founders as well. And so she really helped, with the events and the programs. And really, our sustainability is in large part due to her efforts. Wow. And then the second is really our board. Our board has been always made up of individuals from the community that work in this area, and they really believed in the mission of the organization and believed in making and forming a community around the profession and elevating the profession. And so I think that's really the secret of why we just have been able to be around for all this time and then become an official nonprofit, be able to fundraise and have some support from, major stakeholders in our community like Miami-Dade County and the Miami Foundation, Peacock Foundation. And then from there, we've been able to bring in, my role. Right. And now we're, flying that plane that has taken off and
you
building
are flying. You are
building
flying.
on that momentum of growth. I think it's really interesting. If you read about nonprofit life cycles, it is really important to know where your nonprofit is, what stage are you in? Mm-hmm. And, you need different ththings in different stages. And so we are in that, transition between the early stages, the startup stage, because we've been around for so many years. Right. But we're now formalizing the organization, and now we're really entering the growth phase, which is exciting because that means more programs and events for the community and more support
and more awareness too.
And more awareness,
just what you all are doing, right? So for nonprofit leaders that are listening right now, why should they join or be a part of, in some capacity or another, Philanthropy Miami?
I think that everybody has a role to play in our organization. We are really about forming a community. And I think that, for example, when we met that first day, right, you were so almost like a mentor to me, and so I'm starting into the field. So we need that. We need to lean on each other and help each other. I think, yes, we do have opportunities for education outside of our conference, Ignite. Ignite is really a one major day of education and networking and collaboration. But throughout the year, we have other courses, depends on what your needs are. Maybe you need a more intensive, several weeks course on fundraising. So we have that, coming up actually next month through our academy. Nice. Or you just need some workshops on how do I recruit a board member? How do I steward that relationship with a donor? How do I use marketing to really talk about my mission and my impact? Right. How do I measure impact? So there's a lot of different things that are topics that we cover through our content and our programs. So that's one. But really, it's about being more in community, and my vision is everybody just really working in collaboration and forming those authentic relationships with each other and with funders too. Funders is part of our ecosystem. So how do we have those authentic relationships with our funders? Because we both need each other. Funders have, need to partner with nonprofits and to fulfill their mission of a more equitable community or healthier community. And so it really is a symbiotic relationship. So how do we capitalize on that?
No, that's awesome. So to be clear, though, I want to make sure that the audience understands too, like what Philanthropy Miami is not, right? You are not doing the one-to-one direct, maybe mentoring or coaching per se. Like what are some of the things?
Well, we're not a funder. I think sometimes the biggest misconception with our name being Philanthropy Miami, we're not a funder.
That's good.
Not yet, maybe.
Right.
Maybe in a couple of years, but for now we're not. I mean, we do fundraise to provide scholarships for nonprofit organizations that are on the smaller side to participate in our conference or to participate in one of our courses. We don't want money to be a barrier, especially if you need capacity building. Like, we want to make sure that our programs are accessible.
Right.
But we're not a funder. And then I think we're also not, that type of accelerator or, like you said, the one-on-one coaching. Most of our courses are all peer cohorts.
Nice.
We really like the idea of everybody has something to bring to the table.
I love that.
So it's not just about us providing the content. Our participants also provide their experiences, and we can learn from each other.
Right.
So I think that's what makes us stand out.
No, that's really great. So I want you to talk about some of your key signature events, because you kind of casually mentioned Donor Next Door, but I don't know if I feel the last time first of all, the one that I was finally a part of after years of like, should we do it? Should we not do it? We don't know what to do. And we did it. It was just like, this is amazing, right? We were just so thrilled, and we honored our board chair. So she was delighted to even be a part of it. But I think for us, it took us a long time to kind of really wrap our mind around, like, who is this really for? Should we do it? What does this event really look like? So that's just one. So I want you to talk a little bit about some of the key signature events that you all do.
Sure. So I'll start with Donor Next Door. So Donor Next Door is our longest standing event. It really started off with the idea that we need to be able to recognize and thank our donors, because gratitude is at the heart of it all, right? Yeah. And so how do we thank our donors for believing in us, for supporting us? And it is their time to just, some of them don't want to be recognized, or they shy away from it. So this is just an opportunity to highlight their impact and show our gratitude. There's really science behind that even. So it's an opportunity to do this as a collective. So multiple organizations are able to participate. They recognize, as a nonprofit organization, you buy into the event and you recognize one of your donors, whether it's through their time, talent, or treasure, like with your board chair, and they get a beautiful award. And it's really a celebration of philanthropy. So it's really for both. It's for the nonprofit organizations who normally don't either, have it in their budgets to throw a big event, or they already have big events. Sometimes we do have larger organizations that join us, but they have so many donors. So, this is just another opportunity for them to honor one of their donors in a public way. And it's a beautiful evening of celebration of philanthropy and the impact of philanthropy in our community.
Yeah.
So that's one. And actually save the date. It's February 19th, 2025 at Miami-Dade College. So we're really excited about that.
So I need to jump on that when you release it, because is there going to be like a cap? Because I feel like once we probably put the show out, right?
Yes,
you have to,
exactly.
First come, first serve.
It is. So we can only have so many organizations participating. If not, it would be like a 10-hour event.
Right.
And so there's also capacity with the theater at the college, but we'll be announcing soon when tickets are available. But it's just really an opportunity for organizations to be part of this celebration and honor, like I said, one of their donors.
I love that.
And their donor gets a beautiful award. And then we also have our Community Champion Award. And so this year was Mr. Marlon Hill.
Yes, he's amazing.
He's amazing. So we were able to honor him, and we renamed the Community Champion Award to honor one of our founders, Hank Radema, who passed away. So it was the first time it was the Hank Radema Community Champion Award.
I love that.
And so that's Donor Next Door. And then Ignite, which is our conference. So it's a totally different type of event. Ignite is a daytime event. It's an opportunity for education. We have workshops, we have panels, we have a keynote speaker, and then we also have roundtables. Again, it's about interaction. It's not just about absorbing content all day long. It's really, again, we really want our participants to feel like they belong and they have insight and they have the knowledge and expertise to share with others. And so it's a great day for networking. It's a great day to just be around our peers, get out of our offices for a day and just be around each other, because again, it's really that exciting community feeling and energy. Yeah,
the energy in the room that day to me is just like, ooh.
It's good to feel reinvigorated, to go back to doing the work that you do and to reignite your purpose and your mission. And just today I got a text message from somebody who said that because of the conference, they met someone and now they have a new job. And so, incredible. So, I thought that was very
much
sweet.
More that we don't know about, right?
Exactly. So it's nice to have those, connections and So it makes me happy to hear that we had some small part in now his career.
Yes, that's amazing. And I loved it too. I've always loved Ignite. From the moment that I found out, it was great to be a co-chair for that event. And what I loved the most is when it's lunchtime and then you can kind of, I feel like I'm in the cafeteria and I'm just like, where can I make a new friend today? Right? I love it.
We purposely didn't program. I know we talked about this.
Right,
you did such an amazing job, by the way, with the planning.
Oh,
and we talked about this. Let's not program lunch. People just need the opportunity to breathe and be around each other. And it's about friendship and community. So I'm really glad that you enjoyed
and
it.
I did make a new friend. I did make a new friend and I introduced her to a funder. So it was great.
There you
go. Yeah.
Actually, true fact. Ignite was what made me decide to take the job. So I was actually I was interviewing at that time. And so I hadn't quite, received the job offer yet. And I felt like it was coming. And do I really want to make this huge jump? Because it was a huge jump from where I was. And I went to Ignite and I was blown away by just the energy in the room. Over 300 people.
Oh my goodness.
And that was when I said, okay, we have something here. There's something really magical here.
It is. It really is. I love going there. I just do. I think what I love too is that this year, for the first time, I noticed that you had these sort of tags for people who were first timers, right? And I think they were light blue. So every time I saw them, I'm like, hi, welcome. Thanks for coming. And it was so fun to just share with them, more about Philanthropy Miami, of course, but not even as a board member, just as a fellow community member that is in mission with making sure that Miami continues to be amazing. It was so good to be able to greet them and say hello. So there were so many things this year that I saw that was just so fun.
Thank you. I didn't want to change Ignite too much because I was already challenged to change Donor Next Door. So Donor Next Door went from a luncheon to a cocktail reception and an evening format.
It was amazing because I had never been to the other one.
And mind you, by the way, another skill set that I did not have before taking this job is event planning. And so to have to plan a huge event that's been in the community for 20 something years and be challenged to reimagine it was scary. But I'm glad it all worked out. And sometimes you just have to take a chance, And so with Ignite, I didn't want to change too much, but I did want to add a little bit of my own flair. And that was definitely one of those things. I wanted people to feel welcomed. I remember going to the first one and I felt a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And so, just having that almost like hospitality, like you're welcomed here. Yeah. You're welcomed here.
I loved it.
And, I don't want to give away too much for next year, but I am ready to change it now. I'm ready to do more things, to think bigger, provide different kinds of content. Going back to that nonprofit life cycle, I think that, we've grown enough where we can now say, if you are new to the field, this is for you. This content is for you.
I love that.
If you've been in the field for a while, we have separate content for you. So this is really what I want to explore for next year is how do we provide, content or experiences to cater to where everybody is in their journey. I
love that. And I think that's the perfect track that I think people need right now too, because so many people are either rethinking their, post-COVID, people are just rethinking their purpose, their mission. What is it I want to do? How do I want to leave a legacy, right? And so these amazing tracks that you have where whether they're new coming in, whether they need to, catch up on skill sets, I think is going to be incredible. And I think it's going to make for an amazing event.
I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, with that said, we are going to roll into our Social Yaks. Yay! So we want our audience members to learn more about Fernanda, right? And I think the most important thing is that in the nonprofit space too, I think sometimes it can be difficult because there's so much need going on. You're one organization among many that are doing either similar work or just work that is really making an impact. And so you don't know sometimes who to go to. You don't know that trusted voice. You don't know whether or not, someone is willing to mentor you, right? Because the nonprofit space is such a heavy lift for any executive, right? You're working on limited resources, limited manpower, right? Sometimes. So I think today for them to get to know you better too is going to be a win because hopefully they'll call you and reach out to you. And then there can be some synergies between you and new nonprofits that would love to learn more about Philanthropy Miami after this.
That would be fantastic. I mean, I would hope my vision is really for us to be that hub right? Of resources. And if we don't know the answer, we'll get you the answer.
Right.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
We want to hear from, what's bubbling up. You're right. Like things have changed so much post-COVID, and they're still changing. And there's leadership transitions too. There's people that are retiring. There's new people coming into town. And so if you're new coming into town and you're in the space, like come to us.
Call her.
We'll make you introductions or come to one of our networking events or come to one of our roundtables and share your opinions, share your thoughts, because we all do better when we are able to be open like that and help each other out.
Yeah,
so
we're stronger together.
Stronger together.
That's what I say. All right. So let's do our game. So this is the cards here, and I want you to pick the first one. So it's breaking the ice. Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, with the polar bear on it.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you want to be when you were younger? Definitely executive director was not the first thing that came to mind. Actually, I wanted to be a doctor. Like ever since I was little, I thought that healthcare was going to be my thing. As early as I think 3 years old, that's all I talked about all throughout high school. And then I got to college and I got my first F in biology. I was just kind of like, what? And so, I
but
struggled.
That's the weed out class.
I was weeded out. So I just struggled my freshman year, and I think I was just so used to like my strategy in high school.
Right.
Was like, okay, I would study kind of last minute, And college that did not work, and so I almost lost my scholarship, and so there was a lot of catching up to do, and then I just started to see that like I wasn't feeling passionate about like what I was studying. And then I took an anthropology class as just like an elective, and I fell in love with it. And so I decided to major in anthropology, and that really opened up my eyes to like what else is out there. And I think that's the beauty of college, looking back now, I was so stressed out about, oh my God, like what am I going to do when I grow up? And the doctor thing might not work out, but that's what college is for. It's for you to experiment and to learn new things and to be open. And so from there, I learned about public health, and that's when it like really sunk in. I'm like, okay, I thought I wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to help people. Right. But with public health, I can help a community. Yeah. It's not about the one-on-one. Yeah. And so that's when it really clicked for me that to me, it's all about community. It's all about systems thinking. And so I decided then to get my master's in public health instead. And so, and it's worked out for me. Thank God.
Kudos for you. That's so amazing. And you stayed in that vein. Right?
Yeah. I
don't feel bad now because I was struggling. I got a C in Bio 150. The weed out class.
An F.
But it was like, I still don't know if I liked it. Like it wasn't coming naturally anymore, right?
It wasn't natural.
Yeah,
and I was like, why am I doing so much? I took the MCAT, and then when I tried to study for it again the night before, I was like, why am I doing this? And I started thinking of all the reasons of like, what would happen if I just don't go tomorrow? And I was like, oh my God, my parents are gonna be so upset. Oh, this, and I started counting the reasons, and I got to like the second hand. I'm like, wait, none of it was me. And that was like a big turnaround point for me. And I didn't go. I didn't take, oops, I probably shouldn't be sharing that story because I don't think my parents ever knew that I didn't go.
Oh my goodness, so funny.
But that's what I knew. I was like, it has to be about you. You really have to feel it. Yeah. And so that was the turning point.
It's the next 30, 40 years of your life committed to that career.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Well, now we know.
Sorry, Mom.
Okay. Next one is our yak. So let's get social.
Oh, well, here we go. Deeper. What family traditions are important to you? So family is really big for me. And I go there every Sunday. I think Sunday is like my family day. And so we have lunch together. And our son, who's the only grandchild, gets to be with his uncles and my parents. And so that's one that we do every week. We get together on Sunday. And that's beautiful. And so sometimes my husband's like, do we really have to go there? I'm like, yes, we have to go there.
Yes, we have to keep it. Yeah. Because you get busy and you forget, and you miss a Sunday, then it becomes 2.
And then next thing you know, I would love if my parents lived forever, but that's not the case. And so as we get older, it just makes me appreciate so much more of that time that we have together.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then they're gonna watch the show and know that you skipped the MCAT. In trouble, my friend, this Sunday. All right, so we're gonna dig deeper.
Okay.
This is a tougher question here.
Ooh. What was the last disappointment you experienced? Ooh. Well, actually, there's been kind of a few lately. So professionally, I applied for a couple of grants, and on the same day, I got 2 rejections. And it's like that automatic email that you get, and you're like,
did you read it?
I spent like 2 weeks working on this one, and it's the one that I thought for sure I was going to get. So And it's funny because working as a funder, you know, I wonder how many times I sent out that email where like you're not thinking, right? Because you get such a pile of proposals and you just, you know, you hit decline in your grants management software and it sends out that automatic message. And so, I mean, our process was a lot different at the Health Foundation. We co-designed. So, but you know, it really made me realize, like, you know, from the flip side of how that makes people feel. But you know, you get rejected and you just brush it off, you know, and move forward. But that was one. And then honestly, personally, so my son is 3.5, and he, ever since he was 1 years old, he started having seizures. So he has epilepsy, and he's on the spectrum. And I think for me personally, it's just been really disappointing of finding the right school for him, like the right preschool. And so, you know, maybe a new purpose for me is, like, once the dust settles, is to really figure out, you know, how can we help families more that are going through this? Because it was really disappointing to have not one but two schools basically reject us, and say we don't want to deal with this, you know. And so I'm sure that it happens to other families, you know. And so how do we deal with that? Because, you know, we really need to. Early childhood is the most important time for a child's development, a child's brain especially. And so, you know, being able to find the right, and luckily I have been able to find a lot of resources lately. So our community is so blessed. You know, we have the Center for the CARD with we have Parent to Parent. We have so many organizations that are doing such great work that I'm just now learning about. So I just want to give a major shout out to these organizations.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. I know that took a lot.
It's actually the first time I'm sharing it, like, publicly, because it's just all happened. But you know, I'm very proud of my husband and my family and I of really coming together to, you know, figure out how best we can support him and learn as much as we can and provide him with all the tools and resources that he'll need. And most importantly, love. And love,
because that's what we really need.
Yeah.
I'm all about love.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm here for you should you need anything, for sure. I think you really moved the needle on just being so vulnerable with something like that, because I think when we all have children, we want children to be perfect in our eyes and in the world's eyes, right? Yeah. And sometimes and we all have flaws that are different, but it makes us who we are, and we grow and we thrive, and we're still loved and cared for by others. And so I just thank you for sharing that, because there's a mom, I'm sure, that's listening right now that probably needed to hear that, you know, that vulnerability.
This all just happened a couple of weeks ago. And so I'm still learning and I'm still grieving, because it's not about, you know, being upset about him being on the spectrum or anything like that. But it's just, grieving the image or the thought or the vision,
that's what I'm saying,
that I had for him, and just being able to just look at him. He's the same person. It's just, you know, it's going through that process of, what does this mean? Like, because fears come up.
Of course.
You know, is he going to be okay? Or is he, you know, going to be bullied? Is he going to...
How would he be received?
How is he going to be received? And how are we going to be looked at as parents, you know? And so there's a lot of feelings that bubble up. But it's just been really great I've had a couple people that I've been able to turn to that have gone through the experience. And again, I think that's why it's so important. And it's I think probably not a coincidence that my same vision of community for Philanthropy Miami is now happening to me in my personal life, and that same need for community, for us to come together to help each other out, and help, you know, people. There might be a couple of years from now, a new mom finds out, and I'll be able to pay it forward, just like some of the parents that have been helping us lately.
Absolutely. Wow. No, well, we're here for you as a community, and I'm sure that there are people that would reach out to you in a minute once they hear, to just share any insights or resources. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, this last card, it's called Use Wisdom, and I'm going to let you read it, but I'm going to answer.
Oh, okay. From what you heard from me today, what would you do if you had the ability to make my life easier?
I'm not going to go there, because you just shared something so powerful, right? I would say that I would give you peace, because we don't live in a perfect world. And when you hear news like that, it can really rock you in so many ways, right? The questions, the anxieties, the fears, how does my child survive a world that might be mean, right? But I would say I would just give you peace. Yeah, because it's the peace that we need to get through day by day, and to know that we're loved and that we're cared for, and that there are people who are going to rally around you. But when you're alone and those thoughts come up, or when you see something at home or when you see a seizure happen and like, okay, what do? I would give you peace.
Thank you. I think the biggest lesson I've learned is, when faced with uncertainties, to lean into that with curiosity. So what's coming up for me? Not try to push feelings away. Feel every feeling, and ask yourself, like, why is this coming up? Is it fear?
Yeah.
Is it anger? Is it sadness? And so just to be able to lean in to that when moments of anxiety, or when we don't know, because none of us know.
Yeah.
None of us know the future, and
we don't.
And so that has been helpful too. But peace makes it even better.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm thankful that you shared and that you came today.
Thank you for having me.
While we're in this beautiful moment, I'd love for you to maybe speak to another woman who's a professional that's trying to juggle life. They're trying to juggle something that they heard or something that they just found out. They're trying to juggle still being that perfect mom and family member, sister. We always, as women, put on all these different, we have these titles, and then we always try to perform. But what would you say to a woman that's a professional right now that maybe even went through the imposter syndrome and didn't feel like they could take that next level? You've shared so much in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to wind that down, but I think your story is incredibly amazing, and even what you shared just now. So I'd love for you to encourage someone, and you can use this camera right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I would just say, take one day at a time. And I think it's normal for us to question ourselves and question our self-worth, or doubt our abilities. I think these things are all normals, but don't get stuck in that story that you tell yourself. Maybe try to tell that story in a different perspective, because you're doing amazing. I think we all are doing amazing. And there is no such thing as balance. There's days that, my son needs my attention more than I can give that attention to work. But then the next day I shift the scales. And so I think that we're all doing the best that we can. But, lean into that fear, lean into that uncertainty with curiosity. And ask yourself, like, what's really stopping me? Because sometimes that answer is you. It's really your own fears and insecurities. And so, growth and change is hard, but you'd be surprised of what you can accomplish when you just try. So that's what I would say.
I love it. Well, thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you so much.
I think we just exemplified what community is really about. And I love this part of my job. So with that said, definitely reach out to myself or Fernanda if you would like to learn more about Philanthropy Miami. And today, this concludes our show. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.